independence of energy and not have to buy off of these countries that are trying to kill us.
Yeah, they are. They hate us.
I know it.
Yeah, they do. Okay, Mary, what is your hot and not topic this week?
Well, you ready for some fun news for a change?
Yeah.
How about release the pounds? Hundreds of free $10 notes hidden on the streets of London. They took these 10-pound notes and made them into origami dogs and hid them all over London.
Really?
Who did that? Who had that much money? That's cool.
I know, the country just says free money. It's to encourage and give people, lucky people, paper canines and to receive a welcome pocket of money boost. I was just wondering how many are going to pick them up and say, look at this piece of junk, throw it in the trash, because it's an origami dog.
I wish I had a butterfly net and gone over there.
And then the second thing, if you've been following, of course, the stock market news and things like that, Heinz deal with Kraft expands the food for, guess who, Warren Buffett. Did you know that they're coming together, the ketchup maker, Heinz, etc., and the Brazilian private equity firm, 3G Capital, and they'll combine to Kraft Foods, which is backed by Warren Buffett.
Lovely.
Yeah, so you're going to have, it's the usual thing, the macaroni and cheese, Velveeta, Maxwell House Coffee, Oscar Mayer, things. There's quite a few. I was reading what all is owned by this. And Tim Horton restaurants, I mean, there's so many. It's a conglomerate. And how do these things go together? And they say, well, it really won't be, they won't contest it very much because there's not a lot of people in the food industry. And it's like, huh?
Well, what's it? What's?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I worked for Kraft for 15 years, and just before J.L. Kraft died, I was fortunate enough to have met him at a conference. And he was a good Baptist Christian. And he said, well, one thing I can remember about him, he said, what we say we do, in that kind of voice, we do. And, but he would roll over in his grave if he knew that Warren Buffett had anything to do with his company. Because one of the things he did, and of course it backfired on him, but he took these prisoners when they came out of prison, and he gave them a job. And they almost stole him blind. Yeah, to stop that. But he was a good man. He started out with a horse named Patty in a wagon, selling cheese, and it grew to one of the greatest. And I mean, when I worked for Kraft, it was a wonderful place to work. We were family. But I agree with you. And I just had to add that in there because he would have rolled over in his grave to know that Warren Buffett was involved in one of his companies. He started out with a horse and buggy.
You can expect groceries to rise in price when they come together like that.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question. You said something about Tim something restaurants.
Tim Horton.
What is that?
I'm not familiar with them.
They're not in your country. They're not in y'all's part of the country. They're up here.
Ah, okay.
What they are is they're like in competition with Dunkin' Donut. And they're a Canadian company. They moved. That's why they moved Burger King headquarters to Canada, was because Burger King and Tim Horton joined.
And they own Pillsbury.
Yeah, you've got Heinz ketchup. You've got A1 sauce. And it just goes package after package, food after food. That's going to be in this merger.
Well, in days, everything is going to wind up in the hands of very few.
Oh yes.
I'm seeing that coming. All right, Mona. Let's see. I think we're up to. Well, Teresa, you already had yours, didn't you? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I was reading the wrong line of my notes here. Okay, Mona.
Well, I have to defend Warren because he's Roger's food guru. Today we were reading that this Democratic woman, Congresswoman, made this statement that global warming was going to force women to trade sex for food.
What?
Went, Yahoo, good. And then he said, I wonder if she had been hit in the head and had a concussion. But then I started reading up on Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett is 84 years old. Now, he and Michelle Obama have to be in the outs on food because, you know, Michelle is weighing her babies now and everything else. Well, Warren Buffett is 84 years old, and he relishes a high-sugar, high-salt diet that he says is like eating like a 6-year-old. He said, if somebody told me that I live a year longer by eating nothing but broccoli and asparagus from now on, every day would seem like as long. I'll stick with Cheetos and Cokes. And his partner is 91. Warren Buffett's favorite breakfast is a Coke with potato sticks. And then he drinks 4 Cokes a day with a cherry Coke at the end of the day if he had a particularly hard day. One time he was eating at the Four Seasons restaurant, and he ordered for dessert from one of his companies, Dairy Queen.
Golly.
Well, I thought it was just funny because Warren Buffett, this rich, wealthy man taking over the food industry, goes totally against what Michelle Obama's trying to do. And then we're going to force women to go out and have sex for food. Pretty funny.
Does that sound like ISIS?
There's another thing that I had read, that the United States is trouble because the Thai leaders have threatened to kill journalists. The United States, I'm reading this little paragraph. The United States said on Thursday it was troubled by reports that the head of Thailand's military junta had threatened to execute journalists who do not report the truth and hoped he was not serious. Well, I guess they do hope he's not serious because they'd have to be executing every one of ours, it seems. The other thing was the Pope is coming to the White House. This is supposed to be a result of the meeting that Obama had with him when he visited him in Rome. The Pope is coming September the 23rd. And the only thing in my mind that this triggered was how Obama pitches one person against another, one race against another, one religion against another. He was so against Netanyahu's visit and was so obnoxious and horrible after that visit. But here he is bringing in the Christian leader of the Catholic Christian leader of the world, of the Catholic Church. And it's like pitting the Christians against the Jews in the White House. That's what my first initial reaction was. Here he goes again, setting people up against one another. The other thing I want to talk about, and then I'll shut up, I think, is this horrible thing that I read y'all wrote down here. This Canadian group uses hair from more than 1,000 gay people to make a gay sweater. Now, I don't know how you guys, I have a lot of gay friends, and I admire them as people. I don't care what they do in bed as long as they don't tell me. But when I look at the gay pride parade in San Francisco, where they're riding around on bicycles naked and all these kids have these shocked faces, and I read all this kind of obnoxious, horrible stuff, it's just embarrassing. I don't even want to know where this hair is coming from. I don't want to know that. You know, so that pretty much has done it for me. When I read that, I said, oh, that's like those people out when they were trying to do that Planned Parenthood thing out in Arizona. This little old lady got up a group of women who were knitters, and they knitted little pink uteruses and ovaries.
Oh, gee.
And passed them around to people trying to promote Planned Parenthood. And I'm thinking to myself, is everybody on the left, do they really need to be in a mental institution? And the answer to that is
Yeah.
yes.
Mm-hmm. With a lobotomy. There you go. Well, you know, the thing about that sweater is it's rear end ugly. It is. It's rear end ugly, let me tell you. Well, I have 3 things that kind of piqued my interest. I have always been a fan of that TV show, Who Do You Think You Are? And it's about ancestry. And Angie Harmon, who is on a TV show, Rizzoli and Isles, she is related to a soldier. Her 5-time grandfather, I guess would be her 5-time great-grandfather, fought with Washington. He was in George Washington's group. And that was a fascinating program. And Angie Harmon is just a real nice lady, and she's also a conservative. And I just thought it was really neat. She lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I thought it was just real neat that she did that program. And you can find Who Do You Think You Are on TLC on that alternative network. And I really like that program. Then one of the other things I saw that makes me sick to my stomach is the DEA was having sex parties, and it was paid for by the drug cartels. Now, I ask you, in the first place, all three of those things are wrong. The DEA shouldn't be having sex parties. Sex parties shouldn't be going on that are funded by the drug cartels. The drug cartels shouldn't be having playtime with the DEA agents. So everything about that statement is so wrong. And why isn't anybody being up on charges for that? There's so many things wrong with it, I can't begin to describe them all. That's just wrong, wrong, wrong. And then the last thing, I think we'll all have some comment on this, is remember in the old days you used to go out to eat and it was quiet and peaceful? And now when you go out to eat, you have to act like you're in a bar because you've either got TVs blaring everywhere or you've got music blaring on over the system, and you have to shout at each other to be able to hear. I really hate that. I really, truly hate all that noise and all that brouhaha going on in a restaurant. And I just wondered if you guys felt the same way or if I'm just an old fogey.
No, well, I could say you're an old fogey, but I won't. No, I hate it too.
Yeah.
But I think that you also have to choose wisely on where you go to eat. If you want to have a quieter meal, it can't be some fast food kind of thing. And when I go in, honestly, if we go in and there's a bunch of kids around us, I say, I'm not sitting there, please move me.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I don't want to hear it. I just don't.
That is a pet peeve of mine, is parents and kids will be kicking in the back of my seat or whatever, and the parents are just eating. They're loud, they're noisy. I'm like you, Marcia, all the sports TV, all the shows on there, you can't hear each other talk, and usually the reason we go out to dinner is a quiet talk between my husband and myself.
Right.
You just don't want to sit there and say, I hate sports. I hate kids running over the top of me. Oh, no, now they're throwing food at me, too. And the parents are just totally...
sitting there.
Yeah, out to lunch about it.
Yeah. And do you ever notice that the TVs are always turned to some doggone liberal news station?
Yep.
Never ones that report the news, the ones that put spin on everything. That's what they want you to force you to watch.
Absolutely.
Or a baseball game.
Yeah.
One or the other.
Well, I remember in the days when we used to go to a restaurant here in town, and we would sit and quietly be able to talk, and you can share sweet nothings, and you can hear each other. And now it's like, what? I didn't hear you say that again? And it's because there's so much noise. And used to, the restaurants were kind of quiet because the floors weren't just cement. Well, now they're just cement, and all the noise just reverberates against the walls. And sometimes it's so noisy in there, I just want to scream, turn it off! But, that might just be me, but I don't know. What do you think, Roland?
Oh, I agree with you. I think, it's, you go there and you want to enjoy a good meal, and it just shows that these people don't have much class, in my opinion. And so I try to avoid them as much as I possibly can.
Well, I would if we...
On time. We have 4 minutes left.
No, we have about 2 minutes until we're finished for today. But I wish there were some places in my town to go that were still quiet. There's not anymore. They just they just don't.
Well, it's the same thing if you go to a movie. If you go to a movie, you can't even listen to the movie anymore because people are yapping.
Well, and they have their phones on and they're chewing popcorn, like making noise, and they're eating their ice. People don't have any couth anymore.
Well, there